I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, and I am delighted to be joined by the creme de la creme from one of my favorite shows on Earth, Star Trek Discovery. We've got Michelle Paradise, the executive producer and co-showrunner. We've got Philip Lanyon, DP. We have Olatunde Osunsanmi, who is the director extraordinaire, who's been on the show since the very beginning. And of course, we have the one and only, the star of the show, Sonequa Martin-Green. Welcome, everybody.
You. Thank you for having
Um,
us.
I was going to say let's fly, but I didn't want to do that yet. We'll do that later. So look, Star Trek Discovery is coming to an end for everybody. The finale, is a really emotional experience for fans, and I just want to know how you all feel about saying goodbye to this show after such a long time. Sonequa, let's start with you.
Well, we've had quite a bit of time to process things. We've been talking about the show quite a bit these last several months, doing the press run for the final season. But we wrapped, over a year ago, and so I really appreciate that. Actually, I appreciate the timeline, the way things have gone, because we're able to look back and have an even more objective point of view about it because we've had the time to process it. And now I have to say that watching it, because we've premiered the first 8 episodes, there's only 2 left. I have an entirely new point of view about it, and I wonder what you guys think too. But just the love and the adoration and the sense of, I don't know, honor and privilege, it's on another level now that I'm seeing the final season of Star Trek Discovery play out. And it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I people are really excited about this season. You're going out on a high. I mean, it's really quite an impressive season of TV. Olatunde, what do you think about saying goodbye?
Well, yeah, it's great feeling the love from the fans and as I watch the series play out, I just kind of I'm hopeful that we did our part to hold down the house for Star Trek, because it's like, this franchise existed before we all came on board, and then we came in and we are basically just making sure the house is okay and in good shape, and then we have to pass it along to some of the others, and some of the others have been started up while we were shooting, and then they'll pass it on to somebody else. So my hope is that we did it justice, and it feels really good to have come to the end of the journey and know that we all collectively gave it everything. We gave it everything. And so I hope the fans are, enjoy it, and are, are enjoying the ride as much as we enjoyed the ride behind the scenes.
So, Philip, what do you think? You are lensed the season premiere and the finale, the series finale. How do you feel about saying goodbye to the show?
Yeah, I think Discovery is such a special show for a lot of people, and it was a bit of a surprise to kind of know we were ending, and that was yeah, a bit of a shock at first, but after a while and coming back and shooting the additional scenes, I think it started to make sense, and I think that it's getting the ending that the fans deserve, and yeah, I'm just really happy to be a part of all that. It was a really cool experience.
Over to you, Michelle, as the co-showrunner with Alex Kurtzman, who's not with us today, but this has got to be a really big moment in your career and life to say goodbye to the show.
I joined the show halfway through season 2, and I've been running it with him since season 3. And it's, I think I'm still processing probably that we're coming to the end, because even after we finished shooting, there was so much to be done in terms of the post-production process. And then, now we're in this phase of it where, the show is airing and we get to talk about it. And, in just a few weeks, that will all be done. And I think to some degree, that's when it will really hit me that it's over, like that we've completed it. But just to echo what everyone else has said, I we all, every single person on this show, every, all four of us here, Alex, who's not here with us today, every single member of the cast and crew, we all poured our hearts and souls into this for whatever length of time we've been on the show. And we all genuinely love it and genuinely love one another and working with one another. And I think that comes through on screen, and hopefully people feel that. And I'm just so appreciative of the response to this season, and that people do sort of feel like we're going out on a high note, and that they're excited about how the season is turning out. And we're doing this interview a few weeks before the finale airs, but once it does air, I can't wait to hear people's responses to it. And yeah, I hope they love it.
Yeah, I suspect that there will be tears, because full disclosure, I've seen it and I'm still processing it myself. Michelle, it's such a huge gamble to base the fifth season on this relic of an episode from TNG from years ago, which it's actually one of my favorite episodes, because it really sets up this amazing mythology about these proto-humanoids called the progenitors, and seeding, DNA for humanity across the galaxy. And it talks about our commonality, which I think is very fitting for a show like Discovery. That narrative thread is so interesting to me. And I just wonder, what was the thinking behind bringing that back? And was there ever any thought that, maybe you were really shooting for the fences, but maybe too much? And talk me through that whole thinking.
Yeah, well, actually, we talked about that episode you're referring to as The Chase, if I remember correctly, it's season 6 of TNG. I could have gotten the season wrong, but
No, you're right. Yep.
Okay. Oh, good. So yeah, we had actually talked about it over the course of season 4, because season 4 was all about, we had the DMA, and it was all about people coming together and our shared humanity, to use an Earth-based term, but even with those who are very, very different from us. And eventually we get to the 10C, and the 10C couldn't be more different, but we find common ground. And that episode sort of stuck out to us because it really does talk about the seeding of life and the fact that we are all connected, or all humanoid species, in this particular way. And originally we had talked about the progenitors. We named them that. That's not what they were called in the original episode. But we talked about potentially having them as part of that journey back in season 4. And then the more we broke the season, we realized it's too much story, and there's too much story to be told with the progenitors. We don't want to squash it in. And so when we were coming into season 5 and looking at Burnham's journey specifically, and questions of meaning, and thematically what we were exploring coming out of, for us as writers and cast and crew, coming out of a pandemic, for our characters coming out of the DMA, and then what is next. And those questions of meaning and purpose and what's next, it really felt like talking about where we all come from, and exploring that. And exploring Burnham's journey with that it felt meaty, and it felt in the vein of what Discovery does, and it also felt very right thematically. So we never felt like we hoped we were never breaking off too much. And there's so much in The Chase that's just wonderful. And to me anyway, it always felt like there was so much more to explore. They meet this or encounter this being via video that talks about seeding life as we know it, and then they just move on to the next adventure. And I remember wondering, wait, well, but what's next? I mean, but what about that? And what about the video? And so we just wondered what if, and that became the jumping off point for Burnham and our heroes this season.
What did you think about that, Olatunde? Because it's a gamble, but I guess you would have been thinking there's a lot of potential here for the show to really soar with a storyline like this. So what were your thoughts when you first embarked on season 5?
Well, at the beginning, it was, sure, we have progenitors, but we also have a little bit of a shift in tone, where it's just, we're going on this adventure. And so immediately what I was thinking was, okay, I got to dust off my, pure adventure chops, and also not lose sight of the heart and the emotion and the drama that Discovery has been known for. you know, our actors, they go deep in this stuff. And so it was about balancing the two, you know, and fortunately I had a wonderful script that allowed me to chart my way across. But, you know, by the time we got to the finale and Burnham has this decision about what to do with this device, for me, it was like, okay, this is what I love about sci-fi, right? This is what I love about Star Trek is it's not real life, right? But it speaks symbolically to real life. And here you have godlike power, God power. And the question that kept going along in my mind was, is humankind or non-human beings, everybody in the galaxy, are we ready to handle this godlike power? If it were to, if, you know, are we as humans, are we worthy of the power of God? And the decision Burnham makes is no, you know, and she puts it in the black hole. And it just was really profound for me. And that's how it spoke to me, was it was just this idea that humankind is not on par with God, and nor are non-humans, being aliens, in the UAP UFO vernacular. And so I just thought that was just really wonderful writing by the writers, and also what Star Trek does best, and also what I just love about sci-fi.
Same, absolutely right. And so Sonequa, when you're told this is what the season's going to look like, you're going to be doing a lot of fight sequences as usual. Burnham's going to be put through the ringer, but fundamentally, this is going to be about her journey and about her choice at the end. What was going through your mind?
So many things, because as Michelle was saying, you know, I have to big up her and the writers for what happened in season 4 and of course 5, but with allowing us to be a mirror to what was going on in the world, right? And so they took that and they took it further. Honestly, they took it as far as it can go, and being able to answer these deepest questions of existence. I remember being so excited when I found out that we were going to reveal that this power was found, that it's something that they found. They didn't know where it came from. I particularly, piggybacking on what Tunde was just saying, I was particularly moved by that, because I love that intersection of faith and science with what I believe there, you know, one is just trying to describe the other. And so I really loved this I really loved what we presented. We presented potential. We presented potentiality. And I think that it inspires people to just keep looking, keep looking up. And of course, hopefully, you know, connecting to the ultimate, you know, connecting to the divine. So I really love that we even had that and cradled that in our show. And there's something so there's something so beautiful about the way the story is unfolding in season 5 specifically, because you see everyone working in tandem, and that's really being showcased in the episodes. But you see everyone working in tandem. You really see the truth that everybody has equal share, and that everybody is brilliant and genius and sacrificial and in their own ways, and we're all working together creating a true mastermind, and we're greater than the sum of our parts, truly. And that's what's happening behind the scenes too. And it's what's always happened behind the scenes on Discovery. It's always been that. We've always been greater than the sum of our parts. You know, like Michelle was saying before. And I love that you see that, and you can know, I hope people know that that was reflected everywhere. What you're seeing play out in the episodes.
We always hear about the camaraderie on set amongst the cast and crew, and how tight everybody in the Discovery family is, which is why saying goodbye must be so bittersweet. And Philip, you shot the premiere and the finale, so you really got to see the whole season come full circle. When you were told about what this season was going to represent, which by the way is such a beautiful legacy for Discovery to leave on Star Trek and also on pop culture, what were your thoughts and how you were going to tackle this creatively?
Yeah, I remember an early meeting with Michelle and Tunde and talking about these themes of kind of adventure. And this is kind of before I knew the entire arc of the season, but then knowing, that we're going to play with this idea of who our creators are, it's a really enticing question. And it really kind of opens your mind up. As soon as you have that thought, you're like, oh, I'm going to learn this thing of maybe why we're here. So I thought that was like a really great start of an adventure. Like immediately you're in, and you can go on this ride through all of these different worlds and puzzle pieces and putting it all together. So I got really excited about it, and it was a fun thing to pull off, I think.
I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive now into some of the elements of the season that I was most excited about as a fan. First of all, the Breen. That's now I'm getting super nerdy, but I've always been excited about the new alien races and especially the Breen. We've never seen them. We finally get to learn more about them. We're inside their ship. So beautifully created by Jason Zimmerman and his team on the VFX team in that amazing real holodeck. I don't understand. It just blows my mind how this show is so cutting edge. So Michelle, when you're thinking about diving deep into this Breen mythology, where do you begin? It's a lot. It's a lot to get right.
Yeah, it is, and the pressure of getting it right, knowing Trek and the history of it, and knowing that we don't know that much about the Breen. So really our task this season is filling in a lot of blanks about them. We really wanted to make sure that every element of it, from the visual look of the Breen themselves to the backstory, their society, the ship, we just wanted to make sure that all of it worked. And so I think Tunde reminded me the other day, I think we went through 25, 30 different iterations of what the Breen might physically look like. And then, in the room, in the writer's room, we were talking about who are they as a society? What kind of society is this? Because we don't know a lot about them. We just know, prior to Discovery season 5, we just know that the Breen, they have this particular mask suit combo thing that they wear, and there's a green eye thing, and they're scary, and they've got a strange voice, and they're scary. But what is behind that? What is their society like? What drives them? If a character is going, in the character of Locke, is going to leave the society, why would he leave? And what would be the pressures to stay? All of those things we wanted to work out and really make sure that our main Breen character of Locke is not only sympathetic, but also part of that culture. And understanding why he left, and then all of the other things we wanted to both honor and step forward, everything that we've seen about the Breen, as little as it was, in the past. So there was a lot.
That's right. Yeah, and there were so many components to that we worked with Michelle on and worked with Phil, and because you have the way the Breen looks. So we're working with prosthetics with Glenn Hetrick and multiple versions there to nail that look. And then you have the other way the Breen look, where you can see through them. So we're working, as Michelle mentioned, multiple versions of that with Jay-Z. And then you have the costume they're wearing. So now we're working with Anthony Tran and nailing that. And sometimes we went too far, and then we had to bring it back, and we always looked at what was done in the past as a touchstone. And then, as you mentioned, we had the ship, and that ship was rendered on the AR wall. And when we talked about it, we were like, okay, how big is the ship on the inside? Well, it's got to be massive. Well, let's go 3 miles long. So, because you can actually set distances on the wall, right? Okay, and then Phil's got to get in there and light it. And not only does he have to light the physical set where we're shooting, he's got to work with Jay-Z to light the 3 miles and make sure as the camera's moving around in there that light is bending and articulating in such a way that is real for the live action that we're shooting in the volume. So it was really, everyone was really energized and excited and giving it everything to pull that together.
Also working with tricks to kind of create the scale of that ship. Like, yes, it's 3 miles long, but how do you actually render that on camera? So we're working with different atmospheric layers to make it feel huge, and these tiny little lights in the background to feel like little micro cities to kind of like expand on that scale.
I think just talking about this sort of highlights why it feels like a family, and the fact that on a show like this, which is so big and has so many different layers and elements to it, I mean, you can see just in talking about the Breen ship, how many different people had to come together. And in talking about the Breen, like for an actor to step in and play that character, it's so many different departments coming together to make sure it's going to work. And it really is everything that we do on the show has always been a team effort. And it's, you know, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. And when you work with such talented people, the results are awesome.
Yeah,
Well-
what you said earlier about swinging for the fences. Yeah, that's season 5.
That's
I mean,
right.
yeah, we continue to go big and go home. Like each season we would go bigger than the last. But there were, I mean, these were things that should not have been possible.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. There's a lot of shows in this genre on TV right now, but I don't think any show quite does it like Discovery. That VR wall blows my mind. I one day would love to walk on one of those things and just see the scope and scale that you're able to create. Um, but let's move on. We don't want to run out of time. I've got lots to cover, guys. We're going to be here all day. Olatunde, you've done 62 episodes of this show. It's a lot. That's saying something. I always remember one of my favorite episodes of all time is Such Sweet Sorrow, and which a lot of the success of that episode has to do with your skill and artistry. So I just was wondering if you could explain, given that you're so good at action sequences, and there's plenty of those in season 5, this show is also really, really good at the emotional stuff, at the quieter moments where we get to know the cast and crew. Sorry, of Discovery, I should say. Talk me through those challenges and which you actually prefer. What do you lean into more, the emotional quiet scenes or the really heavy action scenes?
Yeah, you know, Discovery is one of those shows for a director that if you have a large appetite, it's the spot for you. And I have a large appetite. I love the big bombastic explosions. I love the fight sequences, but I also really, really love the sweet, intimate, emotional moments as well. I just feel balanced as an artist or as a filmmaker, being able to do both. It's really important to me. And yeah, the wonderful thing about the scripts that we get on Discovery is I'm also a fan of the show, you know, and I can be a fan when I get that script for the first time and read it like an audience member. But it charts wonderfully, you know, when to throttle up for the action sequences and when to throttle back down for the more intimate sequences. And, you know, for the action sequences, you know, I'll work with Phil and we'll go with a frenetic camera, and a camera that's embodying the emotion. And so it might be more handheld. It might spin a little bit more. It might be more aggressive pushing in. And I might be a little bit louder with my action on set, and I might be talking to people in a more energetic way and really pushing the energy and pushing us forward. And then when we go to the intimate scenes, then I make myself smaller. Now I'm talking quieter on set. I'm slowing the set down. The camera is no longer frenetic. It's now embodying that particular intimate moment and moving slowly. And it's either on a dolly or on a Steadicam. You know, maybe it's a little bit wider and closer. So we feel more in tune with the actors. And at this point, you know, by season 5, I don't need to communicate in the actors in this particular way, but in season 1, what I would say is, guys, feel free to take your time and unpack what you're feeling in the scene. And you know, your pauses can't be too long as you think about what you're going to say next. Intuitively, we sort of knew that's where we were going with intimate scenes by season 5 and working with Sonequa. But it's about understanding the moment and the spine of that particular scene, and then doing your script analysis on what those characters are feeling and where they were before then, and asking just those questions with every single piece of dialogue and every single piece of description about you know, what the characters are feeling and also what we want the audience to feel in those moments. So I love it all. It's always a collaboration. And I just have a big appetite. And I think that's why I've been able to just be really excited to be and to continue to work on Discovery all these years, because it always gives me something new and something fresh to play.
Wow. Michelle, what's the value that you can attribute to having someone like Olatunde as part of this show? He's so integral to the look and feel of the show, and as a showrunner, to be able to rely on his expertise and artistry. I mean, talk me through that.
I don't know how to talk
Good
you
luck, Michelle.
Thanks.
Good luck.
I mean, I don't know what to say. It wouldn't be Discovery without Tunde. Like, I don't know what to say. It's not, even the most seasoned directors can come onto a show like this and be overwhelmed on any given episode. And it takes someone uniquely gifted, and with a vision, a visionary, to be able to do what he's done. And it's not just the skill of directing, it's communication, it's temperament, it's a thing went wrong and we're now 2 hours behind, but I've got it. And never, like, no one's ever feeling stressed around Tunde. You just always feel like, you know, he's got everybody's in his hug, and we're all going to be okay, and we're going to get through our day, and it's going to be great. And just having that feeling that yes, we can accomplish anything. What it means is that as writers, we never have to stop ourselves mid-pitch and say, well, we could never do that. Like, we have the ability to swing for the fences, because we know the answer is always going to be, oh, how can we do that? And then you know that Tunde is going to, you know, and Phil and their teams are going to bring it to life, and it's going to be amazing. I want to work with Tunde on everything, and Phil and Sonequa. Like, I want to work with them on everything.
You know.
I hope you do. I just speaking of an episode that comes to mind from season 5 is Face the Strange. It's probably one of the best episodes of the series yet. And that's the episode where like Sonequa, what an opportunity to be able to revisit Burnham from season 1 when she was a mutineer, and then fight each other. Just go at it. Talk me through that. That was such an exciting sequence to watch, let alone I can't imagine what it would have been like to do it.
Oh my goodness. It's one of the greatest gifts that Discovery, I think, gave me. You know, we gave this show our all, and it gave its all to us. And that stands out to me. It will always stand out to me. I treasure it for many reasons. You know, it was a lot of fun to do just logistically, but it also was so impactful to me and symbolic for me, because one of the tenets of our story is, one of the prevailing themes is change and second chances, and, you know, being able to grow into who you're meant to be, being able to fall forward towards your destiny. And I feel that story and that sequence especially can sort of speak to that for everyone. Everyone could, you know, come in contact with themselves from season 1 and see a completely different being, right? And see how much they've grown, and finally see contextually the disparity between them. Wow, I really have come a really long way. And I feel that it sort of solidified the arc that Burnham has gone through, which was such a blessing and a privilege to me to bring to life in the first place. And so I think too, to just add a little bit to what you were saying, Michelle, you know, for all three of you, you know, it's one thing to be a genius and to be amazing at what you do, and to have all of this skill, and to have the leadership, to have the temperament, like you were saying. All three of you have that, by the way, but it's also being done at a fraction of the time. Because these are things that would typically, you know, somebody would have a long time to shoot these sequences, to sort of map out these sequences, math out these sequences. But we're doing them in days. We're doing them in hours. It's people are operating at such a clip so quickly. But I have to give it up to the writer. Sean Cochran wrote that episode, and even as we were shooting it, Lee Rose directed it, and we all kept looking at each other and saying, this one's gonna be special, y'all. Like this one's gonna be special. And I also have to big up our whole stunt team, Chris McGuire, led by Chris McGuire and Atifa. And actually, she was out of town that episode, but the way he led us through it, we legit. It was crazy the way we were having to move. It was a lot of moving parts. We worked with, what's that lens that what's the camera that we worked with the first time for that sequence for the split screen? It was our first time using it.
Yeah, we used a Venice, but Chris Mabley was the DP on that show, and he
Yes.
invented a kind of a prism on a drill, and it
Yes.
would spin. So all of that time travel stuff is in camera.
Yes.
Really?
Can you believe
Quite an
that?
amazing
What?
effect. Yeah.
Camera effect.
I'm
Yeah.
not surprised. I mean, everything on this show
Yeah.
is so
great.
it's so amazing. Hey Phil, I've always wanted to ask a DP from this show about the way that this show is shot. It reinvented the visual language to me, I think, for Star Trek. It's like you're not shy of a lens flare. It's darker, it's more fluid. There's a lot of light, but it's more focused light. And I'm just speaking like as if I know what I'm talking about. But I know what I know what I know. I know what I can see. Talk me through the visual language on Star Trek Discovery and how you were able to bring Star Trek into a new direction.
I don't know if there's been a new direction, more of an evolution of looks.
Yeah.
I came into it kind of one episode in season 2 and then season 4 and season 5. And so, yeah, it was kind of this evolution, definitely embracing flares along the way and just this kind of a refinement of colors and looks. And I think this season in particular, as I mentioned before, just going on that adventure, we just leaned into it really hard, just not shying away from saturation and color, and darkness. And, we have, rules against certain colors, and we broke those rules at times and, just went for it.
Yeah.
I think when we get into a rhythm together over so many seasons, I think that affords the kind of efficiencies to do that, and it kind of gets better.
But there was certainly a jump between there was certainly a jump in season 5 cinematically, and the guy here on the screen is a big reason for that. He's very modest.
Oh,
but
so modest.
It's like,
Thank you.
yeah, and what Sonequa was saying about the fraction of the time we have to do this stuff, you can, a big part of that is how quickly that DP is moving. And is he able to manage 3 cameras and still make the actors look great and still make the set look great? Is he able to manage the fact that he's got a director in me that is slinging his cameras around at warp speed? So essentially you have many different frames along the way, along that track, and still make it look good. And he came in and he was our lead DP, and he really rallied the other DPs. And it's a really special thing to be able to have someone like Phil on a show like Discovery.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can imagine. Michelle, you co-wrote the series finale, Life Itself, I think with Kyle Jarrow, and Olatunde, you direct it, and it features some really beautiful epilogue scenes where we're able to really send Discovery off into the ether and remember it for what we love about it. But I'm amazed that you didn't all come back together in Canada and reshoot a bunch of scenes to give it an ending. It was pretty much already done, wasn't it? That's really, really surprising to me.
Yeah, we were in the process of editing, I think it was episodes 8 and 9 of the season when we found out that this would be our last season. So then when we did find out, I can't say this enough, how grateful we are to CBS Studios and Paramount Plus, our studio and our network. They know what this show means to people. They know how beloved it is. They know how beloved the franchise is and how much we all and they give to it. And they gave us the opportunity to go and shoot some additional material. And really, they said, you have we got I think 3 days. They were open to whatever we wanted to present in terms of how to wrap up the series properly. And, you know, when we kind of looked at the season as a whole, it really felt like what we were doing thematically in an odd way sort of lent itself to, oh, if there's going to be a final season, this feels like thematically where you would have wanted to be. So, but then it was the question of how do we wrap it up? And so, you know, we worked on that coda, Kyle, Jarrow, and I, who wrote the episode together. We worked with Alex, we worked with Tunde to figure out, all right, what can we do in the time that we have? Some of the sets had already been struck by then. We were going to have a limited time. We couldn't have gotten all of our actors back to do big things. So if in these parameters, how can we make this a satisfying ending for the audience and for our characters that we love so much? We love these characters. We want to know what's going to happen to Burnham, and we want to know what's going to happen to everybody. And so to find a way where we get to see that was really our task. And I'm so proud of how it came out. And again, to what they were saying in terms of how long you have to shoot things, we had prosthetics on this. You know, I think from the time we found out until the time we had to shoot, because there was a writer's strike coming, no one knew for sure that the writer's strike was going to happen, but we knew that it was a possibility. And if we didn't shoot this beforehand, we all felt like, well, if there's a strike, we might not ever get to shoot it. So I think we had 7 or 8 weeks at the most. And that included writing the material, Tunde and Phil prepping to be able to shoot the material, prosthetic testing for Sonequa and David.
And my casting.
And yes, and there was so much to be done in that limited time. And then we only had the 3 days and the scheduling of it all. And, you know, again, brilliant work by the 3 people on here and everyone else who came together to make it happen. And it feels seamless, and you'd never know that we were running
under the gun. I mean, that we left out with the most impossible thing I was talking about earlier. It was like it all was a big climax leading up to how we were able to close out the show. And I tell you, it really speaks to the brilliance of everybody. I tell you, Michelle, like I'm gonna say it forever, but just like what you guys were able to write. First of all, just you and Kyle and Alex and what you were able to do with I don't know, 4 pages. And then the time that it took you to do it, you know, you basically did it in 45 minutes. And then, you know, we prepped and we shot in another 45 minutes. So, you know, yeah, it was really I really feel that it's not even just, of course, for the fans, absolutely. We're so grateful, but we're also, I just feel so grateful for us as well, right? Because the fans are our extended family, and even for the sort of immediate family of the cast and crew, it's like we could get around this, we could be proud of this. We feel that it really just I don't know, it really encapsulated our legacy together as a company. And like we said, we hope that everyone feels the same way who loves the show. But just like the huge round of applause. I agree with you, Michelle, huge round of applause that we were able to do that.
Yeah, it's truly a perfect ending. It's beautiful. We are running out of time, but there's one final thing I wanted to talk about, and very briefly. Elias Tufexis, who plays Luck on the show, recently declared on social media that Sonequa Martin-Green is the hardest working person on television, always gives 100%, never complains, leads her set with respect, love, and excitement, and welcomes everyone. Now, she's currently in the Infinity Room with Kovic, as you can tell. But I want to know, just as a final word, this show isn't this show without what Sonequa brings to it. Sonequa, you are truly inspiring and just transcendent on this show. And I want to hear from the 3 others on this panel what they think about you. Go for it. You go first, Olatunde.
Oh yeah, well, that's all true. She is. I mean, it's almost impossible to describe how hard she works, what kind of leader she is, what kind of heart she has, how good-natured she is, how that permeates through the rest of the cast and the rest of the production, not just the crew, the entire production. I mean, people in the offices, I mean, people back in LA working in VFX, just that heart, it matters a lot. And it's also been one of my great privileges to be able to work with her as a director, and to work with someone who has as big an appetite, if not bigger than I do, performance-based scenes. Oh, all over it. Action-based scenes. I mean, the rain planet. You know, we could do a whole podcast on just the rain planet and what she had to go through to do that, right? And someone who cares about every aspect of what she's doing on screen and off screen. It's you know, there's certain people when you look at the great actors of our time, there's certain things that they do over and over again. There's a certain pattern that you see in all of them, and it's been really great to be able to watch that pattern of greatness up close while working with Sonequa. I could go on and on. I'm not, because I know we've got others, but I you know, the watching it's been just as great and just as awesome to watch it up close and personal. This is she's one of the heroes you would want to meet.
All right, over to you, Phil.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with what Elias said and Tunde said. Her spirit, her positivity, her love, everybody just wants to come to work and make the impossible happen for her, and that includes myself. And yeah, very, very, very special person to work with.
Michelle?
I second and third all of that. One of the first things that Alex said to me when I joined the show was, there is nothing that Sonequa cannot do. Like, you can write anything, and as a performer, she will be able to do it. That I have seen hundreds of times over in my time on the show. But the other thing about it, just to echo what Tunde and Phil were saying, is this show is so big. It's as Sonequa said earlier, we've only got a limited amount of time, and being the number one on a show is such a greater responsibility, I think, than anyone can possibly realize. It's not just what you do in front of the camera. It's not, I say simply in quotes, knowing your lines and making those actorly choices and being there. There's so much that goes with it. There's how you are on set, how you are with the crew, how you are with your fellow cast. How do you lead? How do you show up every day? How do you treat those around you? How do you approach the material? And she's incredible. Truly, just the kindest person you could ever hope to meet. Anyone who's watching this, who has watched the show, you know, they say, you know, be wary of meeting your heroes. I think you just said this. Don't be wary of meeting Sonequa. She's more than she seems. And just really, it's been such a privilege, Sonequa, to get to work with you, truly. And I'm gonna miss the hell out of it. You're really, truly, Rob, she's just wonderful.
Oh, thank you guys.
There you go.
Oh, Jesus is Lord, I tell you. Oh man, I thank you guys. I feel the same way about you. You guys know I feel the same way about all three of you, about our company, our cast, our crew. Everybody just, this is lightning in a bottle. These are just phenomenal people. It was so easy. I could not have done it. I couldn't have led. We all did it together. You know what I mean? This was a group of people who had no ego, who led with their hearts. You are just each one of you, Michelle, Tunde, Phil, like some of the most brilliant, like in the true sense of the word. We throw that word around like all the time, but just like seriously brilliant, like more brilliant than people understand, more brilliant than people can really grasp. All three of you, and I can say the same words back to you. Thank you guys so much for your love and for letting me be a part of this journey with you.
Well, on that note, everybody, I guess I speak on behalf of the fans. I get to do that this one time. Thank you all for giving us this amazing journey. I've had so much fun. I've cried, I've laughed. Yeah, thank you so much for your time today and your insight. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For the time.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that was lovely. Thank you.
That was lovely. Thank you.